We are in. Good evening, everybody. My name is Javi.
Well, good evening. I'm Felipe.
Here we have a person that we really wanted to interview. His name is Adam Berry. Hello, Adam.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming down to the show.
My pleasure.
Yeah, Adam, if you would like to introduce yourself for our Spanish audience, for the people that they may not know you, please.
I'd love to. Hola. Hola. That's about as far as my Spanish goes. So that and adios, but hopefully we won't be saying that too soon. So my name's Adam Berry, as you said. I am known as the Gym Starter, which is my brand, and I'm a personal trainer. I'm a fat loss specialist for women, and I've basically been working as a personal trainer for the last sort of 4 or 5 years in a gym, on the gym floor, working with people, helping them build their confidence, helping them lose a few pounds, and basically just trying to help normal, everyday, regular people navigate the horrible world of their really busy lives and all of their annoying work things and family things and social event and everything else, with their desire to get a body that they feel more comfortable with. And that doesn't always mean losing weight, that just can sometimes mean helping them just move a little bit better. And that, it's amazing how many of my clients feel like they make huge progress without actually losing lots and lots of weight. But it's just about going through the motions. It's about being physical, looking after yourself. And once they realize that, I feel like they get to level 2, but we'll get into all of that. And that's basically who I am. I'm an actor. So I started out as an actor. I was a professional Shakespearean classical actor. Yeah, I've been on the West End stage in London. I've been in a few films. Do you know Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Harry Potter, just as like an extra. I wasn't big in Harry Potter or anything.
But you were there?
I was there. I was in the Great Hall, Chamber of Secrets.
I'm not a really big fan of Harry Potter, so I don't know all the movies and stuff. But like,
that's right. It's the second one.
The second one.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, do you have a number, like a time where you appear or something?
I don't know. On my Facebook, there is a photo of it somewhere very deep in my archive.
Okay.
But it's during Dueling Club. So in the Chamber of Secrets, Malfoy and Harry, they have a fight with their wands basically, and it's when Harry realizes he can talk to snakes. And I'm in that scene. I always tell people to look for the fire. If you see the fire, you'll see a little tall fella, and my ears, because my ears stick out. I've got quite big ears. They're glowing red. So if you see the tall guy with red ears, that's me.
Okay. Well, that's nice, man.
But then
impressive.
So yeah, I was an actor, and I realized I needed to find something else to do, something more fun to do. And I've always enjoyed building confidence in people. I used to run theatre schools as well for little children, just trying to build their confidence, get them feeling better about themselves, giving them a space in which they can be themselves and not be ashamed of being themselves.
Okay.
And that's really where the Gym Starter came from. I've always liked keeping fit and being strong, and well, I'm not strong, but strong for me, and trying to just help people. And I literally give every day of my life to helping as many people as I can in whatever way I possibly can, in order to help them build their confidence, to give them a safe space, to make them feel better about themselves. And that's about it, really. I mean, I don't have a succinct introduction, but that's me in a nutshell.
Well, I think it's a great introduction. I think it's
thank you.
You have a really interesting life. So yeah, and I like that you mentioned two things that for me are very important. You mentioned confidence, and you mentioned how it's important to actually to move better, right? To have like a better quality of life. I would say, I mean, because like normally people, I think that relate nutrition with just losing weight, just like improving your appearance or your looks, but it's actually way more like general than that, right?
It is. I find with a lot of my clients, they always start with, and all my marketing and how I talk to people, you only have to flick on my Instagram for more than a second, and I work in fat loss, and I try and get people to talk to me about losing weight. But in truth, losing weight is so multifaceted, and someone's not in a place where they can lose weight until they have actually figured out a lot of stuff underneath that. And that stuff they're not even aware of. And to be fair, a lot of that stuff I wasn't even aware of when I first started personal training, when I first started working with people. I used to think, oh, great. So I'll tell someone this is how they lose weight. They'll go and do it, and then they'll lose weight. And then it kind of all comes together nicely in a little package. I get a nice photo, I sell that, and then someone else will come along. And I thought that's how it would work, right?
That's pretty much how like everybody would think that it works.
Exactly. And that's the dream. And that's because that's what we see. That's what we see on Instagram. That's what we see on Facebook. That's what we see in Men's Health magazine or whatever it might be. It's even what we see in Hollywood movies. It's just a boxed package, and that's how it works. Job done, see you later. I'm going to pay this amount of money for a trainer. He's going to get this result. Away we go. But then the more I worked with people, the more I realized, and the more experienced I got, the more I realized that actually I can't get people losing weight until they've really sorted out, just for example, their stress levels, until they've figured out, until they're really in a place where they can be honest with me about how they interact with their food, about whether they binge eat, about whether they have had eating disorders or they have disordered eating, or if they just have such low self-confidence, they can't keep themselves accountable by stepping on a scale, and what goes into all of the mindset side of everything in terms of this let's lose weight attitude. And so I find that when I work with people, I'll be working with them for 2 months, 3 months. There's no time limit on it. Everyone has a different time frame. But what I do find is I find they have a moment. They just have this little spark where they go, and they relax. And they'll just say something or they'll do something and they'll come to me and they'll go, I can't figure this out until I figured that out. Or they'd have figured this bit out. They'd have figured their stress out and suddenly they'd have got a positive result in their journey at some point. And then they start to piece it together in their head. But that's something that takes forever. You can't just find it. And it all comes down to them finding their confidence. It all comes down to them finding their confidence and understanding who they are and understanding how they're interacting with the world and being comfortable with that and loving themselves and having empathy with themselves and all of these great words that we throw around, but really truly understanding it is something that is very difficult.
I like it, man.
And once they start to walk down that, then we can get the little box of, the package. Oh, let's get weight loss. Let's lose 10 pounds. Let's get a before and after photo, and then I can go and sell it. But that journey can be a year, 2 years. Some of my clients, I pride myself, and I really want to emphasize this. I really pride myself on the fact that the majority of my clients have worked with me for well over 2 years. And they're still figuring it out. And that's because I don't just get them in, I turn them over, I turn their life over for 6 weeks. I give them meal plans and macros and all of this, and then send them off. And then they'll leave me. They'll be like, great, I've got it. I've done my program. And then they'll leave me and then they'll put it all back on and then some. And their issues with food, they haven't resolved their confidence. They haven't resolved their inner self. They haven't resolved their inner peace. They haven't resolved their inner love. And I pride myself on the fact that I get to hear into the heart and I get into the brain a lot more than I probably affect their body. And I think that's more effective. I work inside out rather than outside in, because I don't think in fitness, outside in is something that can be anywhere near as effective as it has to be in order to protect the inner self.
Right.
Yeah.
I completely agree with what you said. I think it's actually no, man. It's actually really really deep, and it's and it's stuff that people is not posting that much on social media. But yeah, actually, I think that me and Felipe, we think the same, because if you want a long-lasting result at the end, you need to start examining, the true nature of the problem, or the true nature of the reasons of why the people have actually come this far or come to this weight or to this body composition, right? So Yeah, and I actually love that one of your passions, as I can see, is actually encouraging the confidence of the people, and you've managed to actually do that in two different areas. That I mean, if you think about it in the first place, I mean, the theater and
Yeah.
actually losing weight may not have many things in common, but at the end, they have one thing that is quite big in both of them, because if you have a very low self-esteem, that I don't know if the same, well, I think
Yeah, they're similar enough. I mean, there is a subtle difference between self-esteem and self-confidence, but we don't need to get hung up on that. So,
but
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's quite, no, yeah, continue, man, continue.
they're very similar, and it never ceases to amaze me how much of my acting career, how much of my actor training, and how much of all what I learn on stage I take into weight loss with my clients. And
It's amazing.
sometimes, like, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, it felt like every single day I was getting a new jump in my brain from my time at drama school and my time on stage and my time working with Shakespeare and all of these things to what I'm doing now. And the two really interact with each other so well. And it comes in fits and starts. I'm not always talking about how acting can inform weight loss, but it is incredible how much my past, and I think this is true of everyone, how much your past is able to inform who you are right now and therefore your future. And that's another thing I find with clients a hell of a lot, is that a lot of them try to eradicate their past. A lot of them try to forget it ever happened. A lot of them will try to imagine the last 10 years where they put on all that weight wasn't there. It didn't happen. They
Denial.
didn't eat. They didn't have McDonald's every day. They didn't eat 3 bottles of wine at night when they were watching a film, or they didn't have a terrible relationship that really affected them, and they've still got scars that need resolving upon that, because that's really affecting, in truth, how they're treating themselves. They try and just forget it ever happened, and they think, oh, I'll get a personal trainer, and then it will be new from there.
Yeah, right.
And like almost just like a line in the sand.
Yeah.
And I love how much my past and my failures as an actor, like I went to like 3 or 4 thousand auditions as an actor,
Wow.
and I probably got 5 really well paid jobs out of it. Like, and it's amazing how all of my failure and all of my experience and all what I learned in my degree and all what I learned on stage and all the mistakes I made in front of 2,000 people. Trust me, you learn a lot when you fall over and you're not meant to in front of 2,000 people, and they've paid to see it. And it's amazing how much that informs me now, and trying to get that message out to clients about how you don't need to forget who you were, but you need to allow that to guide your future. You need to allow it to you need to get a grip on it and understand it, and understand how that has made you who you are now, with no shame attached, but with empathy, understanding, with passion, and with acceptance. And once you can put that together, then you're more likely to succeed in weight loss. I think that's what I mean. More likely to succeed, I'm not so sure, but you're more likely to be able to deal with all of the emotional triggers that a weight loss journey will throw at you. I think that's probably a better way of putting it.
Okay, well, this is a question that wasn't scripted, but
I don't care. Bring it to me. I'm an
mentioned-
actor. Let's improv.
yeah, no, I mean, I just saw, I was just astonished whenever you said that you had like around like 3,000
Auditions. Yeah.
Auditions.
Like
yeah.
interviews.
Yeah. And then you got like 5 of them.
Yeah, about that. I don't even know. I've never done the maths, but it wasn't many.
That's like a very small radio of success, actually, if you mention. And I think that in this society, I think that there are like, from my perspective, I could be wrong, but there's like a certain tendency of having like a small degree of how to handle like what's the word that I'm searching for? How to handle failures or
rejection.
Rejection. Yeah. So because like I mean me myself, I just start thinking that perhaps like I would like struggle if I get like 5 rejections in a row, but 3,000. I mean, that's like.
Wait. They weren't all in a row.
Oh, okay. Well, at least I mean they were not in a row, but perhaps you can give us like some tips or like perhaps some like advices for the people that are struggling with this, for people that they just there's a word that I'm searching for. God, I don't know right now, but well, anyways, yeah. To have like a better like
A better understanding, comprehension. You want me to try and give advice in terms of how can people deal with rejection? How can they resolve rejection within themselves when they experience it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I find rejection is a very difficult topic to deal with people because most people face rejection. Rejection that affects them is usually in a personal relationship. So it's a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a partner,
Right. Yeah.
Whatever it might be. And that's really how they experience rejection. And I think the best advice I was given when I was learning to act was from one of my drama teachers, Frankie Cosgrove, her name was. She was wonderful, very boisterous, very intense, proper Londoner, but wonderful, wonderful. And she said it's really hard to be an actor because you have to be so sensitive on the inside, but you have to step into auditions and be so thick-skinned on the outside. You have to just let stuff bounce off you and just pretend it doesn't affect you. And in truth, they all affect you. They've all affected me over the years. But she said you literally have to walk into a room, give the best you can, as long as you've given it everything you could give it. So I'd step into an audition, and as long as I'd learnt my lines to a degree that they wanted me to, as long as I'd done my research, as long as I knew who I was talking to, what I was talking about, as long as I knew what character I wanted, how I wanted to portray the character, and as long as I did everything I possibly could, if I got a no, you then take it far less personally.
Okay.
Because
yes.
You know you've done everything you can, and therefore it's not your fault.
All right.
Yeah, it's just the way the cookie crumbles. How does that relate to rejection in someone in a relationship? Well, I think in my past experiences, I've always held a lot more guilt in relationships that have gone downhill when I've misbehaved or when I've done something that is not what I would like, is a bad behavior. And therefore I hold more guilt attached to that because I know that really in truth it was my fault. I didn't prepare myself enough. I didn't put in enough work. I didn't toil every day to improve my relationship. I did things to destroy my relationship. And so therefore the rejection I feel is not always from the other person who's rejecting me, an ex-girlfriend, an ex-partner. It's an internal rejection because you know you let yourself down, and you know that you've let above all your own emotions down, and you haven't been true to who you are. And therefore to resolve rejection in your life, I think you have to put in the work. Like I try and work on my relationship with my fiance every single day. If I put my head on the pillow and I feel like I haven't worked hard enough on our relationship, then I know that I'm not moving in the right direction. And if rejection is something that you're worried about, then ask yourself, are you really putting in the work? Like those who have failed at university, or those who didn't get a job interview or something like that. Then did you really put in the work? Did you do everything you could? And if you did do everything you could, then don't worry about the fact it was a no, because it was probably always going to be a no. It's just one of those things. And I feel like you get much more gratitude from doing the work, and you're probably likely to get more feedback because you understand that it's not necessarily your fault. It's just one of those things. And it gives you acceptance. It's hard to explain because it takes a lot of people to, I can imagine people go, well, if I did all the work, if I went to an interview and I had a booklet on the company and I knew all of their stats, I knew how much their stock was, and I knew all their departments and everything else, and I did 3 years at uni, I've got a first degree, and I go into this interview and I present all this to them in the best way possible, and they still say no, then all that work was wasted. But interestingly, it works in a very different way because it wasn't, because you have grown yourself. Going through that experience, you have grown yourself and you've put yourself into a better position for the future. So when I'd walk into an audition and they'd say no, yeah, it would hurt, but I know that I'm in a better position for it. I've done something to move myself forward. And that's really how it works. The other thing you can do is just say, F it and move on. And you know, that works sometimes as well. Just get angry or die trying. As long as you don't hold on to that anger and you just process it and get it out of your system. And then you go forward. Yeah, that's what I have to say about that, I suppose.
I like it. I like it that. So what you're trying to tell us is that basically, you need to focus more in what you are doing, right? In what you can control.
Always.
And that's pretty great, man. Because if you think about it, I mean, whenever you go to any kind of like interview or any kind, there are so many things. Or perhaps if you are in the middle of a relationship, as you were mentioning before, there are so many things that you actually can control. Yeah. But if you always focus on what you can control, I think that you are going to be more like, you're going to have a happier life at the end, right? It's like, because otherwise you are always thinking that all your life and all your progress is on the hands of someone else. So at the end, why should you try? I mean, if your destination, if it's on other people's hand. And I think that this perfectly blends with a lesson that could be applied to also to fat loss, right? And this is a thing that Jer Hamilton, for the people that is listening to us, just says a lot, and this is own what you can control and forget what you can't control. Yeah. Something like that, something in that way. Yeah. But it's basically that. I mean, there are so many people that have this mentality of, well, since I cannot do the plan or follow my plan 100% today, I might just as well just forget about this or just start back on Monday. But at the end, we all know that this Monday will never come because you will keep postponing. So I like that. It's pretty much like, just own what you can control and just think that even if you gotta know, you still grew as a person and you are getting closer to your objective.
There's a great song about that. Do you know who Garth Brooks is?
Who? Sorry?
Garth Brooks.
I wish I could say yes.
He's a very famous American country singer. So for those listeners in the US, I'm sure they know who he is, Garth Brooks. And he sings a song called "What If Tomorrow Never Comes," and it's about lost love. And he says in it, "What if tomorrow What if tomorrow never comes?"
Okay.
And in it, it's like, if he never tells his partner, his girlfriend, how much he loves her, then she will never know, and he'll never get the fruits of that labor. And if he keeps saying he'll do it tomorrow, what if tomorrow never comes? He'll never get the advantage of ever having said that to her. And it's so true. It is so true in fitness and fat loss, and it never ceases to amaze me how much like life relates to losing weight. It never ceases to amaze me how much business relates to losing weight. It just never ceases to amaze me how the metaphors keep coming forward and they keep showing their ugly heads in a weight loss journey. And it's incredible. You just have to control the controllables, and every businessman will tell you that. And when you walk into an interview, by having done all the work, you're controlling what you've done. You're controlling everything you could. And if it doesn't go your way, it doesn't go your way. It's just the way it is. Don't worry about it, because the next one will, and the next one will. I think a big important point that I didn't touch on before is you have to be willing to put yourself in a vulnerable position as well. And that's something dramas, like earlier I said, Frankie Cosgrove, she said to me that you have to be very tough on the outside, but very emotionally available on the inside. And you have to walk into an interview, or even this, for instance. I could have been petrified all day about this podcast and thinking, oh, but what if they don't like me? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I mess it up and all the rest of it? But if I go into it with all of that worry and fear and stress, I'm going to slip up. I'm going to fall over. I'm going to say something you don't want me to say, and you're going to dislike me. But if I come into it in a place of vulnerability, if I come to it with an open heart, with an open mind, and just accept the next hour of my life will be what it will be, then without a shadow of a doubt, we're going to have a much better conversation. It's more likely to go your way. And because you've opened yourself up emotionally, you're going to feel better about the whole process. And therefore, the result means a lot less. So whether you get a yes or a no from that interview, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Because you've enjoyed the process so much more. And you walk out feeling great. The amount of times I've spoken to people who've had a job interview and they're like, I don't know how it's going to go, but I really enjoyed it. We got on really well. It was a really nice company. It was a really good experience. And they'll get a no and it doesn't bother them.
I like
Whereas
it.
another person, it completely destroys them. And that is true of fat loss. If you can put yourself in a vulnerable position to the process, then fat loss is going to be one of those things that the result will never matter. Because doing the toil day in, day out, doing the work day in, day out is really what's going to make you happy.
Yeah.
That is the best way to end your speech, I think.
Thank you.
It was lovely. It was lovely how you ended. No, but actually we are managing to just talk about what I believe is many of the principles of a philosophy that is called stoicism. I think So I mean, to actually enjoy the process, to separate yourself from the result, but that is not in your hands. Actually, well, I don't know, Felipe, if you wanted to say something.
Felipe.
I want to ask Adam, what is the role of gratitude in this process?
It's a very good question. I think we live in a world that is very angry.
Okay.
We live in a world that is full of media, full of people's opinions, full of just anger. And I don't know if you have it in Spain as much, but definitely in the UK, in the US, we're all very tough. Like, I don't know. Let's take, for instance, you'll be able to say better than I would. But do you remember when Barcelona were trying to split? The Catalonians were trying to split Barcelona in half.
Yeah.
I imagine it was quite an angry time in Spain. I imagine there was a lot of opinion about it. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone had a different opinion, and it was always pulling on us, and it was always kind of slicing us apart ever so slightly. And we have that all the time in our day, whether it's our phone going off, and it's, oh, I've got to go there. Oh, I've got to do this. I've got to get here. I've got to do that. I've got to do this. And you're constantly being pulled left, right, and center. And every time you do that, your heart rate goes up. You get a little sweaty. You feel compromised. And I think we live in a world where we're constantly compromised. And that's not a nice place to be. I think lockdown and what we've all gone through, and, I know how bad it's been in Spain, and I'm glad that you're both well, and I hope everyone who's listening to this, all their families are well and stuff like that. But I think lockdown has really taught us something huge in terms of the way our economy works and in terms of the way the world has been spinning for the last 30, 40, 50 years. And that we're now all just taking a bit more time for each other. I mean, I've done more podcast recordings in the last 8 weeks of my life than I've done in the last 5 years of my personal training career. And I love it because I'm connecting with amazing people. I'm connecting with you two. I'm connecting with all of your listeners. I'm able to say a lot of stuff that makes me feel good, just about putting it out there and getting it out of my brain and onto something because it might help someone. And I've got to connect with people like Jordan Sayat and Jared Hamilton and lots of other people. And it's just wonderful because I'm taking it calms me down. Because even saying this now, I'm giving gratitude for the fact that I've got this hour with you two people who are in Spain. And I wouldn't have had this had lockdown not have happened. And it's very easy for us to forget how much we're thankful for. And it's very easy for us to forget what we're missing out on. And it's very easy for us to not take a minute, take an hour, take 20 minutes in our day to just say, oh, I'm grateful for that. I think when you present a lot of people with the idea of giving gratitude, Philippe, I think they think it has to be, oh, I'm really grateful for the way the cloud went across the blue sky and the deep
Yeah.
richness of the I don't know, of the green trees and the
Yeah.
crimson petals on a tree today, and they think they've got to be poetic with it,
Yeah.
and you really don't. You just have to sit there and go, you know what? I'm really grateful for this cup of tea.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful that I've got a roof over my head, or I'm really grateful that I had a biscuit today. It doesn't matter what you're grateful for, it really doesn't, as long as you are genuinely grateful for it. And it ties back to the vulnerability discussion, because you have to be open to receive these things. And those people who find giving gratitude very difficult are those who never stop, are those who aren't able to calm their mind, those who aren't able to, the ones who are always compromised again. And it's painful to see. And I think giving gratitude, it lowers your stress, which we know helps you with fat loss,
Yeah.
helps you control your weight, and it brings up your endorphins, it calms your whole system down, it's good for your immune system. And even if you don't have time to meditate, just taking 5 minutes out of your day to write 3 or 4 things you're grateful for each day is something that is only going to help everyone and everything in every manner of everything they do.
I think that Felipe just well, I think that I
I had to
just
go to the toilet.
remember. I just remember that thing that Felipe had to go.
Okay.
I like it, but no problem. Yeah. Anyways, I just love it, man. I just love what you're saying, and I actually think it's a nice exercise that everybody should try. I know, like it actually takes time, right? I mean, and
Oh.
time is actually something that right now is quite like expensive in
Yeah.
the in the time or in the right now and these days that we are like so busy all the time, right? We are always reacting to different like signals, right? The WhatsApp or like Instagram or like my boss is calling me, and we live in this like busy world, in this stressful world, and then we die, right?
Yeah,
And so
basically.
we haven't got like a time to just sit down, just breathe for a little while, and just be grateful, as you're saying.
I
I
know.
think otherwise I think that we will be living in a world of in a very gray world, right?
Yeah.
In a very dark place where where it's like everything that you are always focusing in what you don't have, right?
Yeah.
But like as soon as you sit down and you actually start to focusing in, well, I had a really nice chat with my mother today, and that is something that is really great, because I believe that is one of the things that as the years go by, you're gonna remember as good memory. So I'm glad that I had this good memory. I'm glad that I was able to have breakfast today. These kind of things that at the end, when all the shit goes down, you realize that what really was everything about. So
It's interesting you say that. Have you seen the film The Titanic?
Titanic,
Yeah.
yeah, like 1,000
Right.
times perhaps.
One of the things that sticks in my brain the most about the Titanic is when the ship is going down, as you said, the band keep playing. The band keep
It's true.
playing their instruments as the ship goes down, and to the death they play their instruments. And they don't do that because they're being heroic. They don't do it because they need to and it makes a nice scene in a film, and they probably didn't do it on the actual boat. But what it stands for is they're grateful for being able to give the gift of music. Even when the chaos is going on, they understand that someone will find peace in listening to this music. And it's such a great example of gratitude in action, and how they're giving gratitude to everyone they've got. They're giving gratitude to the situation, and they're giving gratitude really and truly for their lives at that moment. And what gave them the most happiness in their lives is playing
Right,
the instruments.
right, man.
And that's so important, and it is so wonderful. When you was talking, a word popped into my head, and it was bouncing. And you're right, we're going, we're being compromised, we're bouncing, we're in a grey life, we're bouncing from one place to another all the time. And I don't know about you, but whenever you bounce something too much, what happens to it? It breaks, it smashes, Even a ball, if you bounce a ball enough, it will get deflated. And that's designed to bounce. And for as long as we're bouncing, we're gonna break. So you have to recharge yourself. In my private members group, where all my clients are, my sort of online group, it's called the Fitness Collective. For these 30 days, we're doing a meditation challenge. We're doing 10 minutes of meditation every single day for 30 days. And it's amazing how many of my clients are coming back to me and saying, I'm finding this really helpful. Like, they might not be doing any exercise at the moment. They might be dealing with all the stress of lockdown. They might be dealing with all the stress of what we're going through at the moment. They might be dealing with just the stress of life. But they're all saying, these 10 minutes a day means so much to me. It's just helping me sleep better. It's helping me think better. It's helping me calm my system down.
Right.
And they're grateful for it. And what's wonderful about that is not only are they meditating just for 10 minutes, and it's probably not successful ever. It's probably not, great what you expect meditation to be, but they're doing it. And then it's given them something to be grateful for as well. And they end up in this feedback loop of looking after their brain, of looking after their breath, of reinvigorating their life, and then they get meditation and gratitude because they're grateful for doing the meditation, and that means the most. Right. And they don't get that gratitude without the meditation, and it works together, and it's wonderful.
I actually love too the idea. So you have like a private group or like a private chat where all your clients are.
Yeah. So we don't do it. So I don't like lead the meditation or anything. I have tried to do some meditations in the past on my YouTube. There's a few walking meditations, but just in my group, I set up 30-day challenges each 30 days. So last month we did 1,800 reps. So we did 1,800 reps of squats and push-ups. So you do 30 squats, 30 push-ups a day, and that was the challenge for that month. And this month, I thought we should do something less physical, more for the metaphysical, if you want. And I came up with meditation. So I asked them all to download the Calm app. I'm not sure if you know the Calm app. It's very good.
No.
You get a 7-day free trial, but they have 10-minute meditations on there every day, a new one every day. And a lot of them have signed up to that to stay with it for the year or for the month or whatever, just so they can keep it up. So they all do that. They then post a little photo in my group, and I'll track whether they did it or whether they didn't do it that day. And that's all it is, really. Yeah, that's how it works. It is a really good challenge.
Yeah, man. Well, I just love the idea of actually having a group for all the people interested in one topic, because I actually think that I believe that everyone will share something, and perhaps like with people where there will be someone who will be talking more than another person, but everybody will be sharing something, and with that the whole community will just grow even bigger, right? Because they are all like feeding. Getting fit, no, right, by that. So yeah, that's actually great.
And also, studies have shown that when you're in a community, when you have people pushing you, when you have people to talk to, when you're doing it with people, studies have shown that fat loss is more successful, it's more sustainable, and it lasts a lot longer. So it's definitely worth curating a community. If you're a personal trainer, try and get your community together, have meetups, talk to them daily. Try and create a conversation. That's all. I don't think enough personal trainers and people like us, Javier, I don't think enough of us try and create a conversation. And really, a conversation is what keeps the world moving. Without conversation, we get nowhere. Without conversation, we don't get ideas. Without conversation, we don't get solutions. So many people are just interested in putting up a workout of themselves, or putting up a selfie of themselves, or doing something that they're doing, rather than creating a conversation about what others are doing and how you can feed into that conversation. Right. And once you start pushing towards a conversation, you get momentum. And once you get momentum, you get consistency and you get motivation and you get all these great things, and it builds and it will build and it will build. And you never have to want for anything again for as long as you push yourself towards conversation. That's why podcasts like this are so important, because we have a conversation. We're starting a conversation. I don't care. When I was acting, people, when I was younger, a lot of people used to say to me, "Why are you an actor? Do you want to be famous or something like that?" And I'd look at them and I go, "No, I really don't. I didn't care if I got famous, and I didn't care if I didn't. All I cared about was that I made someone happy, was that I created a conversation, was that I took someone away from their life as it was, and I managed to suspend their disbelief for a period of time that took them on a journey and told them a story. And even if they hated everything I did, even if they disagreed with the way I interpreted Hamlet, or the way I played Benvolio, or the way I played Romeo. I'd never play Romeo. I'm too big, tall, and big-eared. But anyway, even if they hated it, I didn't care, because they'd enjoy hating it. They'd enjoy that conversation about why they disagreed with my choices.
Right.
And that's all we're here to do. That if someone's listening to this and they think I sound like some hippie or some idiot, or I'm just a posh English bloke who doesn't know anything about fitness because I can't bench press 80 kilos, I really do not care, because I'm creating a conversation for them, and I'm allowing them to form opinions. I'm allowing them to think about who they are. I'm challenging them. I'm challenging myself. And for as long as we keep doing that, then we're always going to improve other people's lives.
Wow, man. No, this is so deep. No,
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
I love it.
And I thought you just wanted to talk about a calorie deficit.
Yeah, no, but this is what this is what I like about the thing that I do, right? What at the end, I mean, you end up talking, you end up spending your days talking with people about many different topics, and many of them are not even related with just calorie deficit, but it's just lives, right? A life and experiences, and like how other people see the same world as you live. And I think that we all just grow more from adding and feeding from those different perspectives. So I just love that. And I love that because like we've been interviewing different people throughout this actually this last 2 months from the quarantine. We basically wanted to talk about the same stuff, but at the end we talk about different. I mean, it's just like everybody. I mean, we've been talking with other registered dietitians. We've been talking with psychologists, with the personal trainers, and at the end, like everybody takes it to their personal habitat or their personal
experience.
Yeah, and that's amazing, and that's what I love about doing this, and it's like more than we have like on Spotify we have like well, the last chapter got like 7 views. but I just love, I mean, I still love it because I think that we are growing a lot, and we are having like a wider perspective of what is the problem that we are trying to fight every single day of our lives. And so as long as we are getting that feedback, we don't really care if we are getting 5 or even -2 followers.
Doesn't matter, does it? What kind of things do your listeners and your clients and people, what kind of thing do they generally ask you about? What are the topics that they want you to investigate?
That's a good question. And I'm afraid I don't have the answer for that because I think that for the different episodes that we've been uploading, the people normally tend to focus more, or tend to be more like tend to investigate more about fat loss, just in general about the basics and stuff. And in that sense, in that way, I was gonna ask you just to end up to start closing like this lovely chat that we've been having for this time. If you could only give one advice to someone that wants to change and for good, wants to for good, yeah. I mean, we are not talking about I have like this wedding in 3 weekends. No, I wanna change myself. wow, and that's a big thing, you know. So we've been talking about we're talking about like empathy. We've been talking about like these great words. What would you say? What would you tell this person?
One thing for someone
You
to
have
change
to
their
only
life.
choose one.
I think, I do think empathy is a big one. I think, but empathy for yourself, not empathy for others. You have to understand who you are. I mean, in this chat, you've heard me refer to myself as a big-eared, tall fool or a lanky streak of lightning. Whatever I am, and I can talk about myself in that way, not self-disparagingly, but because I have complete empathy for myself. I'm fully resolved in who I am as a person. You can't step on stage without that. You can't put yourself under a spotlight without being fully comfortable with who you are and how you do things. You just can't, because the cracks appear very quickly when you've got a huge, massive light looking at you, and you've got an auditorium of 2,000 people listening to every word you say. If you're not comfortable being who you are, then you're never going to succeed. And when you start to lose weight, when you start to enjoy a journey about fitness, or when you try to turn your eyes away from others and onto yourself, you're going to start looking at things very hard, and you're going to start looking at things in a manner that you've probably never looked at them before, especially if you've got the right trainer, especially if you've got the right idea about how to go about it, especially if you've given yourself enough time with which to do it. I think you're going to really put yourself under an intense spotlight, and you've got to be ready to accept, understand, love, forgive, and enjoy everything you're going to uncover about yourself. And if you can begin to do that, then I think that'll be the best way you could ever change your life. A lot of people give up in fitness when they failed to lose the first 5 pounds, say, and then they have to really look at why they failed to lose those first 5 pounds. And they'll give up when they're the kind of person who's willing to blame everyone else, when they're willing to blame me as their trainer, when they're willing to blame you as the podcast host, when they're willing to go, well, I did everything, but, and they're not willing to put themselves under that spotlight. They're not willing to scrutinize really who they are to a degree that they need to resolve the fact that they are who they are, and they'll be running their entire lives. And this is why yo-yo diets occur. This is why people go on fad diets and they're constantly doing this with their weight up and down, up and down, up and down, is because these kinds of diet programs, whether it's keto, whether it's Weight Watchers, whether it's Slimming World, whether it's whatever, I don't care. They don't allow you to shine a spotlight on yourself enough. And they'll help you blame everything else except for, and that's really the problem. They place blame. They'll either place blame on you, or they'll place blame on the scale, or they'll place blame on what you ate, the food, and they'll put blame everywhere else. Right. And they won't let you look at yourself, because they know that if they do, they might not be able to. The system isn't set up to help with that. And so, yeah, I think have empathy with yourself. Be willing to look at yourself through a spotlight. And when that spotlight is really shining deep into your soul, can you handle the cracks? Can you work through them? Can you understand that a lot more goes into losing weight than just a calorie deficit? It doesn't, but than just doing a bit of exercise and eating a bit healthier. Yeah. Because if you're not willing to look at that, then you're going to have a really hard time ever getting to where you want to be. And that's true of everything. That's true of whether you're in a relationship with someone and the relationship isn't going right. It's true of business, of work. if you're not willing to be shone under a spotlight, how many people are really scared of like a review meeting at work because they know a spotlight is going to be shone on their work, and they know that the cracks might appear if there are cracks there. And so you have to be willing to do that. And if you can do that and have empathy with yourself, then I think that's going to change your life for the better.
I love that one. I love it, man. Yeah, it's like exactly, you know, you just mentioned it like before. It's not just to have more empathy for the rest of the people. It's actually having empathy for yourself, because it's like you see, I mean, other people's faults, right? Whenever they are, especially and not especially in the weight loss, but in general terms, like you will see it like in others, and you will say, well, perhaps you just had like a bad day, but don't just ruin your whole process for just one day or something like that, or some sort like that. Sort like that. But then they will just slip a little bit from their track or from their trail, from the path that they are going, and they will just go full Hitler, like, and they're just like into them, and it's like, I mean, why? I mean, why would you have two like two different perspectives of the same situation, right? It's like,
I know.
so
My mom is the most altruistic, outwardly empathetic person I think I know. My mother has empathy in droves for everyone and anyone in this world. But when it comes to herself, and she's dieted her entire life, and you know, there's just something there that she just can't resolve. She just can't look at, and she just can't get over. And it's a shame. Well, it's not a shame, because she's a lovely person and she's wonderful to be around, and I adore her deeply. But she just can't quite figure it out, because it's always outwards. It's always that person over there, this person here. I'm going to help that person. But it doesn't matter how many times you help someone else, it drains from your ability to help yourself. And the only thing that keeps me going, that allows me, and it feeds back to what we was talking about, gratitude and all of those things, is I'm willing to look after myself as much as I'm willing to look after others. And that's how I've been able to do this for such a long time. 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. I've always been 7 days a week even. I've always been helping others because I've been able to look after myself. Right. And until you can look after yourself, until you know what is happening deep inside you, then having empathy for others is nice, but you're never going to get yourself to a point where you really want to. You're going to be far better to resolve yourself, be selfish in order to be generous. And if you can do that, then you're going to take great steps forward, not only with yourself, but with everybody else around you.
And I wouldn't even consider it as being selfish, because it's like it's an investment that you're doing in yourself so you can keep helping more people, right?
You're right. It's not. It's a bit of an ugly word to use.
Yeah, well,
but it's a word. It's a word that people understand, and it conceptualizes it for them. So when you say, "I need you to be selfish in order to be generous," they'll go, "Oh, I need to look after myself so I can look after you." Right, of course. Right. Like, just look at a new mother. You know, she'll sleep when she needs to sleep. She'll eat when she needs to eat. She'll do everything she can to protect that baby. Now, if she was out partying every night and stuff like that, she wouldn't be looking after that baby. She's not being selfish in order to be generous. You know, you have to look after yourself in order to look after others. And if you can do that, you're going to be winning. But for as long as you're looking after others without looking after yourself, you're going to be bouncing around. You're going to feel compromised, and you're going to be doing all of those things we've discussed in this podcast that are going to hurt you and not allow you to move forward.
And that is something that I believe that is quite common in mothers, right?
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah.
In that mothers tend to just place their husband, their kids, even the freaking dog before them, right, and just in case they have like they still have some time during the day for them, then and after all of the other people and things that I've mentioned previously, then they will just have some time for themselves. And I've been like and I had different mothers that would come to my appointment, and they would just be just astonished, just saying, "Well, that's true. I mean, I'm not. I mean, I'm not taking care of myself, but it's like they are so like as we were talking this, we were mentioning this before. I mean, they are so stuck into their normal habits, or they are just like this tendency of just, well, I have to do this and then that, and then my kid will call me, and then they are always reacting, so they don't find this place to just think about, I don't know, to find
No,
some
you're right. Yeah.
space, right?
There's an element of heroism about it. I think people think they're heroic by helping everybody all of the time. And I think people think, but also I think people are very scared. And I think this is probably the crux of it. People are very scared about people thinking negatively about them. So I think people think they're going to be judged massively for looking after themselves first.
Right.
And that's why people don't do it. That's why people always try and help everyone else, because they're scared of that judgment back on them. And they're constantly trying to fight away this negative feeling of judgment from others. But when you realize other people's opinions mean bugger all to anyone, other people's opinions are quite literally the last thing you need to worry about in this world. And other people's opinions are just that, other people's opinions. They have nothing to do with you at all.
Right.
Then you will start to be able to put in practice everything we've discussed.
It's quite difficult, though. I mean,
yeah.
it's quite obvious what you're saying, because it's obvious that, I mean, it's other people's opinion. I mean, it can really shape the opinion that you have of the opinion that you hold of yourself. But I don't know in which phase of our like life it's been implanted in our brain, but somehow we just keep like focusing on what the people think of me, and then.
I think it's because we judge others a lot.
Okay,
And
so
I
it's like
think because
yeah,
because we spend our lives judging others on Instagram, on Facebook, on all of these things, then I think we think everyone else is doing that to us.
wow,
So that when you stop judging others and when you just accept people for who people are, people are people are people, humans are humans, it's just humans. One of my clients, she was telling me once she got into a chat with a friend of hers about people being homosexual, and her friend was very anti homosexuality, and that's her opinion. And my client just said to me, they're just humans. It's just humans. Just humans are humans are humans. We're just being human. It doesn't matter. There's no, you can't judge someone. They're just a human being. And you're just like, that is literally it. We're just humans. We're nothing important. There's nothing grandiose about it. We're just these people who live on this earth for the tiniest of times. The tiniest of times we're on this earth for. And when you get that kind of perspective, you can move yourself away from judgment. And if we stop judging others, then you are far less bothered about the way people judge you. And it affects you a lot less. And my client, interestingly, really does not give a shit about how people view her at all. She is a very happy human being, and she's very strong-willed, and I'm sure a lot of it comes from the fact that she doesn't accept judgment. She doesn't judge others, and therefore she doesn't get judged.
it's great, man, because like I was actually starting the question in the wrong way, or in from my perspective in the incorrect way, because I was placing the responsibility in others, right?
Yeah.
Whenever your whole responsibility of your happiness in the last phase or in the last tense comes from you, right? So it's not, yeah. I mean, if you want the world to change, you should start by changing yourself, right?
But
So
we can't change the world, can we?
No, no,
You can't change the way your government are dealing with what they're dealing with right now. I can't change the way my government are. I want to go and live in Australia, but I can't change the way in which the world is spinning right now and the way in which I'm going to eventually end up there. I can't change it. So what's the point in trying? We
yeah,
can't change the world, but we can change the way in which we interact with the world. And we can change um, the way in which we control the world, the way we control our world, and how we control the controllables within that. And that is, and once you can do that, you're laughing.
I mean, it seems that I am listening to Marcus Aurelius.
Oh,
This is so great,
well,
man.
that's the greatest compliment I've ever received, I think.
Oh man, this is great. It's no, but this, I mean, you just summarize it like quite like great. I mean, I think that you just summarized the whole hour that we'll be talking
Yeah,
in that last
yeah.
sentence. I mean, you
But
can
like
just
what's been so nice about lockdown is I've been telling people, like, I feel like I've created my own bubble. Like I've not turned a TV on in I don't know how
that's
long.
great. That's
I've
great.
not listened to the radio in I don't know how long. I've created my own little bubble of personal training, of the gym starter, of my life with my fiance, of my little bubble of things that I care about, of some nice food, a bit of alcohol, nice balance, family quiz nights, things like that. I've created this lovely little bubble, and it's amazing, and
Yeah,
it's wonderful, and I think we've all done that to an extent.
right.
And if
Yeah.
you can just keep that bubble where you are, if you can keep your bubble around you, as the world gets back to normal, and you can keep in that place as much as you can, then you're going to be able to step away from judgment, and you're going to be able to step away from lack of self-empathy, and step towards resolving all of these things we've been discussing today.
Well, this was Adam Berry.
The gym starter, yeah.
I mean, this was so great, man.
My
Yes,
absolute pleasure.
I think that I learned a lot from the perspective that you have
Me too.
of
Yeah.
of the world of this whole situation, and also of how to lose fat. Because at the end, what is great about all this is that it, somebody will say, or somebody might think that we haven't like, really go over through different topics related with nutrition, but at the end we have, right?
Of course, yeah.
Because they are the top, or they are the basics, or they are the floor of
Do you
the.
remember? Do you remember at the start of the podcast when I said people come to me because they want to lose weight, and then what I find is everything underneath that.
Yeah,
We've been discussing that everything underneath that. We haven't discussed the bit on top, which is the nutrition, the exercise, the diet. We've been dealing with the stuff that supports, that allows that to happen, and we're building the foundation below. This conversation has delved into the roots. This is what keeps the trees standing. It's not what makes the branches grow.
this is great, man. This is great, and well, I just want to say that I hope that very soon you can go to Australia and
Oh, thank you very much.
live
It,
continue.
it will make podcast number 2 a lot harder because the time difference will be so much greater.
I believe that we will make it. We'll make it through because,
Oh, of
like, at
course
the
you will.
end, if we, I believe that if two people just want to keep the contact, both of them they want. I mean, I believe that right now we have like so many great technology that we didn't have back then, and it's so great. So yeah. So Adam, thank you very much
My
for
absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Say thank you to Philippe as well. I know he's had to
yeah.
go. But, honestly, it's been an absolute joy to talk to you. And it's been an absolute joy from the bottom of my heart. I'm very grateful for giving me this opportunity. So thank you for having me on.
It was a pleasure, and yeah, and I hope that the next chapter will be in Australia, really,
Let's hope so.
really soon, really soon. So yeah, this was it for the chapter today, and we'll be continue posting different chapters. All right, see you. Bye bye.
Ciao. Ciao, ciao.